Musk and the president now setting sights on dismantling the Department of Education. President asked why he's nominating former WWE CEO Linda McMahon to lead the agency he wants to eliminate.
I told Linda, I hope you do a great job and put yourself out of a job.
I wanted to talk to him about yesterday's newsletter. Came out a little earlier than usual. Usually it's a lunchtime thing, but he wanted to put it out before the market opened.
As we dug into USAID, it became apparent that what we have here is not an apple with a worm in it, but we have actually just a ball of worms.
These systems, they control the flow of more than $6 trillion every year. And tens, if not hundreds of millions of people across the country rely on them for the distribution of Social Security and Medicare benefits, salaries, payments to government contractors and grant recipients, and tax refunds among tens of thousands of other functions.
Elon Musk and Donald Trump are gutting U.S. government agencies like never before. From shutting down USAID to controlling trillions of taxpayer dollars, this is a government shakeup unlike anything we've seen before.
Turn now to the latest on President Trump and Elon Musk's drive to reshape the federal government. Our senior political correspondent Rachel Scott is tracking it from the White House.
ABC News covers the growing influence of Elon Musk and President Trump in reshaping the U.S. government, leading to major shakeups.
Rebecca, good morning to you. And the CIA, now the first major national security agency to offer these buyouts to employees, and it comes amid sweeping changes by the Trump administration across the federal government.
The CIA becomes the first national security agency to offer buyouts, part of Trump and Musk's effort to downsize the federal government.
Nearly everyone in the department will be put on administrative leave by Friday. Those working abroad expected to return within 30 days. 10,000 people work for the agency globally. Their projects pulled back after billionaire Elon Musk seized control of the agency.
Elon Musk takes control of USAID, forcing nearly all employees on administrative leave while cutting back global aid projects.
Musk, the world's richest man, also behind the offer to millions of government employees to leave their positions with pay, now also extended to the CIA.
Musk expands the government buyout program to CIA employees, with 20,000 workers already accepting the offer.
President asked why he's nominating former WWE CEO Linda McMahon to lead the agency he wants to eliminate.
I told Linda, I hope you do a great job and put yourself out of a job.
Musk's Department of Government Efficiency, staffed largely by young engineers, at least one of them 19, have brought beds into their government offices.
Trump plans to dismantle the Department of Education and nominates former WWE CEO Linda McMahon to oversee its closure.
It has no authority to make spending decisions, to shut down programs, or ignore federal law. This is not debatable. This is an indisputable fact.
Musk's Department of Government Efficiency operates with young engineers working long hours, with some even sleeping in their offices.
And over at the FBI, we have learned that a list has been handed over to the Justice Department of employees who worked on January 6 cases. At least 2 lawsuits have now been filed saying that these agents are being targeted by their own department for doing their jobs, Rebecca.
His team gains access to Treasury systems that process trillions of dollars, though they have no authority to alter spending.
Banning transgender athletes from competing in women's sports. The details of this executive order first obtained by ABC News. It does mandate immediate enforcement, including against schools and athletic associations that, quote, deny women single-sex sports and single-sex locker rooms. It directs federal agencies, including the Department of Justice.
Trump prepares to sign an executive order banning transgender athletes from women's sports, enforcing strict compliance across schools.
Let's talk about this USAID thing, because that one's getting really interesting. So I think most Americans had never even heard of this organization, or didn't, if they've heard of it, they didn't know what it does.
Megyn Kelly discusses how most Americans were unaware of USAID's operations until Elon Musk's takeover led to major controversy.
And the people we staff it with, and the people that then create these NGOs to which this USAID then gives its money, funneling to various causes that are very woke in many cases, like large LGBTQ and that kind of promotional stuff.
Musk's review of USAID found deep systemic issues, leading him to conclude that the agency was beyond saving and needed to be shut down.
The defenders say that's not all what it appears to be, that some of those so-called woke projects in these dicey third world countries.
Following Musk's orders, all USAID employees were placed on temporary paid leave, with only essential workers allowed to return.
Will quietly organize, democratic opposition to tyrants, that kind of thing. So it could be just, blatant manipulation of foreign governments under the auspices of Black Lives Matter. I don't know the truth.
Democrats, including Representative Ilhan Omar, have voiced outrage over Musk's decision, further fueling the political battle over the agency's future.
Whether you are an essential worker at USAID, and when you look at who's really objecting to this, it's all people we don't like Ilhan Omar's really upset about it. So I'm already in favor of it.
Reports emerged that Politico received $8.1 million in USAID funds, raising concerns over potential conflicts of interest in their reporting.
There the other day giving a list that was deeply disturbing. And then what we had today or yesterday was Democrats outside of the Treasury Department protesting Elon because they're very ticked off about this and about him. And I just think they see an opportunity because Trump's so popular right now.
Protesters gather outside the Treasury Department, denouncing Musk's actions and accusing him of using government funds for his own agenda.
To go to Mars? No. We want to use our money right here in Washington, D.C.
We will see you in the courts, in Congress, in the streets. Elon Musk is a Nazi nepo.
Chants of resistance against Musk erupt as critics call him a Nazi neo-baby and vow to fight him in Congress and the streets.
Why is this happening?
Exactly.
The government should pay for this. I think one of the things that Elon Musk is doing right now as installing Doge into the U.S. Digital Services organization, which was started under Obama.
Musk begins integrating Dogecoin, DOGE, into the U.S. digital services to explore government payment efficiencies, drawing mixed reactions.
Part of this, from my point of view, is not good, just in the sense of you don't want to suddenly have the U.S. not have its websites that you can look up information about it.
Observers note that Musk's direct involvement in government tech operations is revealing hidden inefficiencies and questionable funding practices.
Suddenly is saying that we can't pay our employees because the checks didn't come through from USAID. It's like, what are we actually funding out there? I would point out USAID is $44 billion a year.
The shutdown of USAID funding impacts international organizations, with groups in Poland and Hungary reporting disruptions in payments.
And it does that a lot in big cities like New York. It also does this in overseas in ways that most people are not aware of. And I think a lot of it is pretty skeevy. It ends up sort of rewarding your political allies, allowing people to have a job when their administration or with their political team is kind of out of power. And a lot of it's gross. And so what Elon Musk is doing is sort of giving a margin call, wake up call about the mechanics of that. And I think that it is pretty useful. You can't, I don't think, shut down USAID.
Critics argue USAID has long funneled money into politically aligned groups, allowing government funds to serve as a political safety net.
Elon Musk and others have been taking a look, because if you look at the waste and abuse that has run through USAID over the past several years, these are some of the insane priorities that organization has been spending money on.
A breakdown of USAID's spending reveals shocking allocations, including funding for a DEI musical in Ireland and a transgender comic book in Peru.
I don't want my dollars going towards this crap, and I know the American people don't either, and that's exactly what Elon Musk has been tasked by President Trump to do, to get the fraud, waste, and abuse out of our federal government.
The first term, though, USAID was something that you liked in some respects.
I love the concept of it. Yeah.
Trump backs Musk's crackdown, arguing that while the concept of USAID is good, it has been hijacked by radical political interests. International officials express concerns over the sudden funding cuts, particularly in Africa, where U.S. aid competes with China's Belt and Road Initiative.
Was just defunded, and they're all panicking about this. I was in Poland, and I happened to meet somebody who had a USAID related thing defunded that very day, which the odds of that should be very small.
While some acknowledge USAID's benefits, Musk's efforts are seen as a necessary purge of bloated spending and unchecked bureaucratic power. The situation escalates with Elon Musk and his team gaining access to the Treasury Department, raising concerns over government stability and financial security.
The problem with this stuff is there is no oversight in government. If somebody was spending this sort of money in a private company and you were losing money and you were looking at your margins, you would fire the whole department. You're like, what the hell are we doing this for? There's no one in government to do that.
Musk allegedly claims he now has control over which federal payments get processed. Officials insist he only has read-only access, but fears of unauthorized activity grow.
There are reports about his guy writing code. So these all, and this, by the way, this is not just like never Trump panic, TDS stuff. This is stability of the banking system stuff.
Despite the chaos, the stock market rebounds after Mexico's president reassures investors that a great deal was reached with Trump, though details remain vague.
In the overnight trading, they were down about 700 points in futures. The minute they opened, they dropped about 480 points. And then they started bumping back up.
Tesla stock dipped slightly, but the market signals that investors don't believe the DOJ will investigate Musk for any wrongdoing, further fueling speculation.
So Tesla, I was watching Tesla stock because if you believe Elon Musk, then over the course of the weekend, he may have allegedly exposed himself to some criminal liability.
With Trump backing down from his aggressive trade war stance, the market prices in that his threats are mostly bluffs, reassuring investors.
The fact that, like Tesla is worth more than every other car company combined, but let's just look at it from that perspective. Maybe the market is rationally pricing in some pretty dark things, and also, some assessments of Trump that maybe he wouldn't like, but that might be good for all of us. Like you're saying, they're pricing in the fact that the DOJ is not actually going to be investigating Elon Musk, or maybe even other people besides random Twitter users that say mean things about Elon Musk, right? That there's not actually going to be any real disruption to the system based on this rule of law takeover. Frankly, it might actually be good for corporate kleptocrats.
Musk's involvement in reshaping government functions, including financial systems, raises concerns over long-term economic stability, but markets remain unfazed.
The DOJ is not going to look into us for any potential wrongdoing, and so it's just, rocket ship to the moon. We're going to be fine. And that mindset and that view of the state of our kleptocracy.
Corporate leaders appear unbothered by the situation, signaling that as long as Trump's allies benefit, the financial sector will continue operating as usual.
They're like, well, maybe we should pause that for a little while to figure out what the rules are going to be first, right? So there are some
rules.
Yeah,
there ain't no rules.
Well, but are there going to be tariffs on us?
The takeaway, as long as Trump maintains his theatrics without real disruption and Musk continues unchecked, financial markets will remain stable.
Well, President Trump's leverage play continues to work. Canada has now caved. President Trump tried to push a 25% tariff against Canada.
Trump pushes a 25% tariff on Canada. Canada, fearing economic damage, agrees to work with the U.S. on crime and fentanyl trafficking.
The strike force with the United States to combat organized crime, fentanyl trafficking, and money laundering also announced that he would be deploying 10,000 personnel to the northern border as well.
Canada follows Mexico's lead, sending 10,000 personnel to secure the border. In response, Trump pauses tariffs for 30 days.
Now, USAID is an agency that was originally brought into being by foreign aid initiatives of Congress and then put into power by an executive order by JFK all the way back during the middle of the Cold War.
Democrats are pushing back against Trump's move to shut down USAID, an agency originally meant for foreign aid, but now funding left-wing initiatives.
This is a point that President Trump made yesterday, slamming USAID and saying, listen, it didn't have to become a cutout for left-wing ideology, but it did, and that's not my fault, that's your fault.
Trump slams USAID, calling it a tool for left-wing agendas rather than its original mission of supporting pro-American institutions abroad.
He said yesterday that there basically is nothing left at USAID that's worth saving.
As we dug into USAID, it became apparent that what we have here is not an apple with a worm in it, but we have actually just a ball of worms.
Mm-hmm.
There is no apple. You've just got to basically get rid of the whole thing.
Elon Musk, overseeing USAID, declares it beyond repair, saying it's filled with waste and inefficiency. Trump agrees and orders a shutdown.
The budget of USAID is somewhere between $40 and $50 billion. It is a very, very large governmental program. So when people say things like, well, it's only 1% of the American budget, that's true, but that's just because our budget is way, way, way too large. That doesn't mean we should be wasting.
USAID had a budget of $40 to $50 billion, with funds allegedly being used for projects unrelated to U.S. interests, including leftist activism abroad.
The president deployed Elon Musk and Doge, the Department of Governmental Efficiency, to go into the headquarters over at USAID and begin digging through the personnel files and trying to figure out who was a waste of money. Where was all the money going?
Trump assigns Musk and his Department of Government Efficiency to investigate USAID. When officials resisted, Trump fired them.
They're upset for a couple of reasons. One, they're upset because they actually like the Pride Progress flag being flown in far-flung African nations with American taxpayer dollars. They want America funding abortion abroad, right? It's this sort of stuff that they are interested in. So number one, on an ideological level, they support precisely the things the American taxpayers don't want to do. But there's something else going on too, and that is USAID, like so many other federal government programs, is an absolute gravy train.
Critics claim USAID was a financial tool for Democratic allies, funding political networks instead of serving its original purpose.
That's why he's there.
He's a very talented guy from the standpoint of management and costs. Elon can't do and won't do anything without our approval, and we'll give him the approval where appropriate. Where not appropriate, we won't. But he reports in, and it's something that he feels very strongly about, and I'm impressed.
Trump praises Musk as a talented manager, but makes it clear Musk can't act without his approval.
Right? He's saying Musk works for me. I'm the president. Musk is not the president.
Trump emphasizes that Musk works for him, not the other way around, and is helping cut government waste.
We'll be consulting with Congress and the appropriate committees to reorganize and absorb certain bureaus, offices, and missions of the USAID. The White House put out a statement saying, quote, under President Trump, the waste, fraud, and abuse ends right now.
The White House releases a statement declaring an end to waste, fraud, and abuse under Trump's leadership.
And also an unnamed person expected to be the USAID's deputy administrator to review agency activities and operations. The review could eliminate certain aid programs or lead to the closure of certain missions around the world. But many of these programs will indeed remain.
A review of USAID is underway, and some aid programs will be cut while others will remain.
AIDS spikes in Africa because USAID funding has ended. I have a feeling that Trump doesn't actually want those headlines.
Trump's approach is about winning victories and minimizing losses, not ideological commitment to policies.
President Trump's winning continues, but in order for you to win at life, you have to plan.
Trump seeks strategic wins, ensuring the U.S. benefits while reducing unnecessary expenditures.
Johnny Olszewski of Maryland, he's trying to make the claim. It's hilarious. They know that most Americans don't actually want to spend the money that USAID is talking about spending, and they don't like these projects. So what is he saying? He's saying, well, actually, if they come after USAID, what will they come after next? They're going to come after your freedom. I'm going to need a logic here.
Democrats claim cutting USAID is just the beginning, warning it could lead to cuts in healthcare and Social Security.
First of all, I do love the fact that Democrats label Social Security a freedom when it is actually an entitlement. Second of all, Donald Trump is not touching entitlements. He has said this over and over and over again.
Trump has repeatedly stated he won't touch entitlements, instead focusing on reducing wasteful spending abroad.
Elon Musk was actually confirmed as a Nazi.
Trump appoints Elon Musk to an important role, sparking controversy.
And I just want to say thank you for making it happen. Thank you.
Musk makes a gesture that some interpret as a Nazi salute, drawing criticism.
Now, AOC, she just was never going to miss an opportunity to give her opinion on this.
Critics, including AOC, claim Musk is showing Nazi sympathy with his actions.
American history is that we beat the Confederates and we beat the Nazis.
AOC states that America defeated the Nazis and won't tolerate Nazi sympathizers.
Am not rocking with anyone sympathetic to Nazis.
So she's definitely convinced he's an absolute Nazi. Because of that hand signal, there is no debate.
AOC insists there's no debate. Musk's gesture was a Nazi salute.
We need to talk about the absolute havoc that Elon Musk is wreaking across the federal government right now, from the Treasury Department to the Office of Personnel Management to the United States Agency for International Development.
Elon Musk is now influencing multiple federal agencies, despite holding no elected or confirmed position. Philip finds it insane that a billionaire with no government experience is suddenly making policy decisions.
There, to be clear, DOGE isn't actually a government department, right? It's just a team within the administration.
Musk is leading the so-called Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, a team within the administration, not an actual federal department. Philip highlights how Musk is acting as if DOGE is a legitimate agency with full authority.
He hasn't been elected, he hasn't been confirmed, and he sure as hell isn't a career civil servant.
It's not just an advisory role. Musk is restructuring key areas of the government. Philip emphasizes that this isn't normal, questioning how much unchecked power Musk really has.
And gaining almost unheard of access and influence across almost every actual department, agency, and office in the government.
Musk has reportedly gained more influence over government functions than many cabinet members. Philip points out that no one voted for him, yet he's making decisions that impact millions of Americans.
Been the fiscal assistant Treasury Secretary since 2014, which is the highest position a civil service employee can act.
Trump's new Treasury Department pick immediately grants Musk's team access to federal payment systems after a top official resists. Philip finds it alarming that resistance is met with immediate removal.
Which, is a very big deal because these systems, they control the flow of more than $6 trillion every year, and tens, if not hundreds of millions of people across the country.
With control over $6 trillion in payments, Musk's influence now extends to Social Security, Medicare, and federal contracts. Philip notes that this means he's in charge of payments affecting millions of Americans.
So with all this, you then had Musk claiming on X, the DOGE team discovered, among other things, that payment approval officers at Treasury were instructed always to approve payments, even to known fraudulent or terrorist groups.
Musk claims Treasury officials were approving fraudulent payments without oversight, but provides no evidence. Philip points out that Treasury already has a fraud prevention system in place, making Musk's claim questionable.
Reportedly using his new power to shut down some payments to some federal contractors.
One of Musk's first actions is cutting payments to a refugee-supporting charity. Philip questions why eliminating aid organizations is the priority under government efficiency.
Right, and with that, notably, according to a 1974 federal law known as the Impoundment Control Act, he generally can't.
Democrats warn that Musk's interference could destabilize critical government functions. Philip reacts to how quickly things are unraveling, calling it reckless.
It's a gross abuse of power by an unelected bureaucrat, and it shows money can buy power in the Trump White House.
Senators call this an unprecedented abuse of power, saying Musk is bypassing Democratic oversight. Philip points out that a private billionaire now has more control over the government than elected officials.
Computer systems that contain the personal data of millions of federal employees, with this data reportedly including dates of birth, social security numbers, appraisals, home addresses, pay grades, and length of service of government workers.
Government employees are locked out of their own personnel databases after Musk's team takes control. Philip reacts, calling it a total power grab that puts national security at risk.
Musk is now saying that Trump agrees that the whole thing must go.
Now, Musk is targeting USAID, the country's largest humanitarian aid agency, with Trump backing his push to shut it down. Philip questions whether this is about efficiency or political purging.
This weekend, when DOGE personnel reportedly tried to access classified USAID security systems and personnel files at the agency's headquarters in D.C.,
Musk's team storms USAID headquarters, demanding access to classified security systems without proper clearance. Philip highlights how this is no longer just government reform. It's starting to look like a takeover.
However, they reportedly demanded to be let in and threatened to call U.S. Marshals to be allowed access.
When security officials refuse access, Musk's team threatens to call U.S. Marshals. Philip reacts to how fast things escalate whenever someone pushes back against Musk.
Also on Saturday, USAID's website went dark and a new page for the agency appeared on the State Department website.
Eventually, Musk's people get inside, and the two officials who denied access are immediately placed on leave. Philip points out that this pattern is repeating. Anyone who resists gets removed.
USAID is a criminal organization.
Musk calls USAID a criminal organization and says it's time for it to die. Philip reacts, saying Musk isn't even trying to hide that he's wiping out agencies he personally disagrees with.
And so with that, we saw Democratic members of the U.S. Senate Foreign Relations Committee writing a letter to Secretary of State Marco Rubio saying,
Trump cancels 50 security clearances while Musk's allies are granted temporary access with no vetting. Philip questions whether this is about security or just putting Musk's people in power.
Though there, you then had some hitting back, predicting that DOGE will uncover waste, fraud, and corruption, with then AOC responding.
AOC calls Musk's involvement a national security crisis, warning that a billionaire is now raiding classified government data. Philip agrees, saying this shouldn't be a partisan issue. It's about control.
This is about way more than just accessing data. You also have Musk describing the agency as evil and a viper's nest of radical left Marxists who hate America.
Musk brands USAID as a viper's nest of radical left Marxists who hate America. Philip says this rhetoric is being used to justify justify wiping out an agency that provides humanitarian aid worldwide. Now, this is just the beginning. Musk's next move could impact every taxpayer, and Trump is pushing even bigger executive orders. If you want to stay updated, hit that subscribe button and let me know. Do you think Musk is saving the government or taking it over?